Hey everybody, once again it's me here. I just did my potato au gratin recipe. It's actually in the oven. I'm coming back with the next steps of what I'm going to do for my dinner tonight. I'm going to cut up this red pepper, and I got a little bit of onion. It's probably about 3 tablespoons of onion. I'm actually going to make the meatballs for tonight, the barbecue sauce meatballs, and I'll show you how I do that. All right, so I have 1 egg, and I have 3 tablespoons of the Worcester sauce. I usually use the Lee and Perrins brand. They didn't have any. This one's really good too, though. This is going to be for my meatballs. And then over here, I'm going to actually soften the onion and the red pepper for maybe 3 minutes, just until it's, done, but not real soft, because it's going to cook a little bit more in the oven in your meat. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. It's about 3 tablespoons of each. You can add more or less, but I'm not going to add a whole lot, because basically I don't want like all that falling out of my meat. Because if you overkill it, it can do that. So we beat our egg, and then we added 1 pound of ground beef. This is the lower fat. I'm just going to break this up and stir it in to the liquid mixture. Using a little bit of regular paprika. So we have salt, pepper, and paprika in this. Now, if I was doing Italian meatballs, I would have added little pieces of garlic and, of course, Italian herbs. But this is a barbecue meatball recipe. I'm just actually waiting for this to get, a little bit softer. And I'm going to add that to the meat. And then we're going to add our breadcrumbs. You can also add pieces of potato bread, which makes a really good meatball too. I don't have any potato bread today, so I'm just going to use my my panko. And it's going to be about a half a cup of panko to this. You can let that cool down before you actually add it into the meat, because you really don't want your meat cooking in this bowl. But, I mean, it really don't matter, as long as it's not, scorching hot. I'm just going to stir that up. And then I'm going to put in my breadcrumbs, which is going to be about a half a cup, maybe a little more. Your meatball should not be too wet nor too dry. I'm using the plain panko. It barely has any salt. It's got like 45 milligrams of salt. I'm just going to add that in. You're not going to want to overstir this. You're just going to want to kind of fold it in. And then check the consistency of your meatballs. If you think you might need a little pinch more of the panko, you can always do that. It's usually about a half a cup and maybe a couple pinches more of that. So there we have it. It'll be like a thick consistency. It'll stick together nicely. You don't want it too liquidy. If it's a little bit dry, it's basically okay for this recipe, because these meatballs are actually going in the sauce. So that will actually soften them too. So you kind of want these a little stiffer. A little drier, I mean. A little bit drier and stiffer there. This will probably make about maybe 7 or 8 meatballs. It's a pound of meat, so it usually makes about 7 or 8, depending on what size you're making. I like to make mine kind of like a medium size, like about the size of an egg. I'm going to take a little bit of meat and roll our meatball. You just want to shape it into a round little ball there. And like I said, you can make it bigger or smaller depending on your liking. These are kind of small, medium, a little smaller than an egg. And I'm actually going to bake these on 375 for about 25 minutes. And since I'm the kind of person that likes to turn my food over and flip it, I'm going to wait about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to, turn my meatball over. I'm just going to roll it over in the oven. I'm actually cooking these in my toaster oven, which is okay to do. So there we have it. And I'm going to go ahead and bake these. So 1 pound of meat actually make 10 medium-sized meatballs. If you were to make these smaller, you'd probably get about maybe 15. I'm going to go ahead and bake these for about 30 minutes. In 15 minutes, I am going to turn them over and kind of roll them around a little bit. I'm actually going to make up my barbecue sauce now. So here's my ketchup. Here's my sauce recipe for the barbecue sauce. Since I really love this stuff, I am going to add some of this into my own recipe. So far, I've got 2 tablespoons of the Worcester sauce. And I'm adding 3 tablespoons of ketchup and about 3 tablespoons of this. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of dark molasses. We have our 2 tablespoons of molasses and our 2 tablespoons of brown sugar added to the other stuff that I just added. I'm going to just stir all this up. Okay, so you're probably thinking that this is not going to cover 10 meatballs, and you're correct, it isn't. So I'm going to actually do the same thing 2 more times, the same measurements into here, and then that will cover everything. Whoops, blurry. So I went ahead and actually added a second dose of all the stuff that you just seen me add. And I'm going to top it off with another tablespoon of the brown sugar. And I'm going to add a pinch of the dry mustard and a little bit of salt and pepper. Just a very little bit of that. This is a rather medium spice flavoring. So if you don't like that, you don't actually have to get this one. They have other barbecue sauces you could use. Or you don't really have to even use this at all. You can make up your own. This is just the flavors that I like. Typically, I usually make my own without that. Or sometimes I won't use the spicy one. But I kind of like the spicy, so that's the reason I'm using this one. So I'm going to go ahead and add the extra stuff to this that I just said I was going to add. And then I'm going to put this on the stove on low and wait for my meatballs to get done so I can put them in here and cook them just, a little bit longer. Not really cook them, but just heat them up for like 10 minutes. And you can also do this version in your slow cooker. You can marinate your meatballs in this delicious sauce for like an hour or 2. But since this is my dinner for tonight and it's getting late, I'm just going to heat up the meatballs over the stove for maybe like 15 minutes, 10 or 15 in the sauce. Okay, so I just wanted to let everyone know I am not cooking my bacon on the grill because I need the grease. So this is actually 3 pieces of bacon per 1 can of green beans. This is about a 3-person serving. You can always double the recipe. You can add 6 pieces of bacon and 2 cans of green beans. I'll be using a little bit of the grease with the bacon cut up very finely to put on the green beans. And I added my mustard powder. I'm just letting this heat up on like a low medium. You want to make sure that your bacon is fully cooked before adding the grease to your green beans. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of the grease. And this is the low salt green beans. So I might add a pinch of salt and of course a little pepper to this. And what's really good in that is your smoked paprika. I'm definitely going to add a pinch of that to the green beans. The bacon is almost done. Depending on to your liking, some people like it extremely crispy, some people like it more on the softer side. I kind of like it, you know, just like right in the middle. There's a lot of grease there, but I'm actually only going to use 1 tablespoon of that. We have our pinch of salt, pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of the smoked paprika. And of course, our bacon grease, 1 tablespoon of that. I'm just waiting for the bacon to get a little cooler so I can break it up into small pieces. We have our bacon all broken up. We're just going to put this on low, keep it on low rather, and don't stir it too much or you'll break your green beans. I'm definitely going to have to get to the gym tomorrow. I'm only eating a little bit of this though. Also, you could put little pieces of onion, if you like, in this. Sometimes I do that, but today I didn't. I'm actually just waiting for my meatballs to get done so I can put them in here. And just, you know, cook them for maybe 20 minutes on low. And I'm waiting for the potato au gratin to come out of the oven. Our meatballs are finished. And we're just going to put them in our sauce very gently. You don't want to break your meatballs. These seem kind of stuck together, so they shouldn't break. These are kind of big. You can do yours smaller if you like. This is just on like a low, number 2. Just going to put a couple in for now, because you're going to want to stir. Make sure you get them all saturated. Here we have our meatballs all in the pot. And I'm just going to keep this on low just to marinate them a little bit for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. Our green beans are on low, because you don't want to overcook them because they're already finished. Here's our potato au gratin. Now, I just did this recipe on my other video in case you're confused. This was my other video that I'm uploading to YouTube and Instagram. That's basically it, really. There's the recipes. Please hit a like and follow if you like this. There we have it, everybody. Enjoy. Thanks for viewing. Stay safe, stay healthy. Oh, forgot to show it on the actual plate. See you later, everybody. Boy, I'm going to have to head to the gym.